and then I'll give a short So now tomorrow I'll be speaking about the great completeness. Tomorrow I'm not going to do it in the academic aspect, but in that of actual religious practice in conjunction with the bestowal of a blessing. The blessing is called the blessing of release upon placement. It'll be understood tomorrow. The ritual itself was written by the fifth Dalai Lama. Out of pure appearance. And then I'll give a short explanatory transmission of a text by Dzogchen on Dzogchen. The blessing, the transmission that I have with respect to the blessing is from Dr. Rinpoche.
When I was very young in Tibet.
And then the Nyingma text, the three words thrusting one into the meaning, I've received from the great Nyingma Lama, Dingo Khyentse Rinpoche. Among you, of course, there are many different predispositions, interests, and so forth. Those who have interest, you're welcome to come. Those who don't, you can stay happily.
Thank you. See you again tomorrow. 전에다 딱 저기 신업 가다 들이잖아. 윤이 송샤바. 나다 들이 들이시다. 딱 저기 규세 중도 그래. 중치. 그냥 딱서서 또또 담을 요소리. 같이 용기. 다등에 안에서 해야 되더라. 장들. 장들.
With respect to the blessing of release upon placement or upon touch that I'm going to be given today, there is a tantra called the Tantra of Release upon Touch, and there are various revelations of it, and the one I'm using today is that of
장들.
Angder.
수익이 고화되네. 또 내가 나 숨마. 내가 나 숨마 가서 그래. 이 레광을 테니 벨리야 딱고 삼기. 한걸 미세에다 친구가 들 송어래.
The meaning of this is that a special blessing comes through being touched on the head with the book that has written in it the dharani or retention mantra of this practice.
So that didn't again want to watch what I Lama want to watch.
One who receives this probably has to be someone who has achieved initiation of highest yoga mantra.
다른 자도 지나리 예배 나라를 되니 그게 뒤쳐인 봐. 공상가 받지 말아 상황 자식이 난게 투루연이 근두고 다원 신용선은 딱다 차대야 해.
So for those among you who have received the initiation of
투루연이 근두
in connection with the Bunsang Lama Shelon, then you're fully qualified. Then you have the proper initiation. Oh.
장나베 안다 숨 딱딱 투루연 근두고 원토 주제디 딱다 차대야.
For those people who have achieved this initiation, which stems from the fifth Dalai Lama, then you have exactly the right one.
민족 라메가 와 가요로 터버지 밴데고도 그래.
But then for those who don't have that, you definitely do need to have in any sort of initiation of highest yoga tantra.
아야. 나한테 내가 너와 지겐디 진업 지겐디 진업 지겐 그 라마라는 사샤나야. 가다지 냠용게다 떠고 여드지. 중나 고구로 봐.
And with respect to the Lama who gives the blessing, it should be someone who has a high realization.
냠용쟁게 라메 아니 진업 다 가다지 라메 규도도다. 특별관에 아니 진업 쪽이야. 내 냠용쟁이 뭐야.
The blessing enters into the student by way of the living Lama who has high experience. Enters into the mental continuum of the student. Has to be something that's generated in the mental continuum of the student through being transmitted from the high realization of the Lama. But such situations are very rare, right?
남들이 최들을 몇 번이에요.
From my point of view, I have interest and faith in this practice, in this path,
냠는식이야.
and I'm practicing it.
똑바로 가고도 와.
But the realization is difficult, right?
아야. 당은 주님말이야. 그걸 뭐 구친시야.
Now, in the old translation school of Nyingma, a series of 9 vehicles is presented.
나 년도랑제 창심. 전에 단도차례 년도랑제 창심 숨체. 나라야 치주숨, 능주숨 전에 독채버려.
Then, with respect to the sutra systems, there are 3. The vehicles of the Huras, solitary realizers, and bodhisattvas. And then there are the 3 outer tantras and the 3 inner tantras, making 6 tantric vehicles.
다 안 됐대. 어디 똑같이 보시네. 나 대부분이 양을 잡아요.
And among these 9, the vehicle of the great completeness or great perfection, the Hatha Yoga, is the supreme of all of the vehicles.
나 대부분 뭐 어머니네. 되게 올라 있던다. 되게 올라 있던다. 대부분 대부지 올라남지 잘. 좀 분이 수치다. 올라남지 이전에 되게 올라 있던다.
The lower systems, these lower vehicles, are all said to be systems of tenets of more ordinary mind. If you divide mind, if you make a division between basic mind and consciousness, say, these would be systems of tenets practiced through consciousness.
나 대부분 구바. 나 저거 뭐 어디 여기디 리벌람지 잡아. 로람지 말해. 리벌람지.
Whereas in this Hatha Yoga, the supreme of all of the vehicles, the great completeness, one is using the basic mind as the path.
자, 말한소리야. 이게 때문에 그다음에 상경한게 요등이겠다. 리벌강네. 지어봐. 다 뒤지야를 표현이 뒤에 되는 냠는 제 요인도 자네. 아니. 지금 그랬다. 내가 상경한게 내 등에지. 리버티니 람도 전에 영어 인도 리버티니 못해지. 뒤에 되는 다 냠는 제 영어 인도 절대지 대과스. 좋아하면 절대지 대과.
Within all of us is a self-subsisting, innate, basic mind, basic knowledge, and this has to be brought out in all of its nakedness and used in the path, and thus this is a vehicle that is devoid of exertion.
아니 디디 가라 책들이 누가다 코아를 때 연구야. 코아 개발시 들기야. 근데 이제 시험을 맞아 저 많은 먹으면 전화도 말받아. 저 자원의 먹으면 전화 말받아.
Now, all of this special vocabulary has special potencies and implications. When it's said that it's a vehicle without exertion, it doesn't mean that it's without any sort of exertion at all in general. It would be unsuitable for you just to remain sleeping or lying down, doing nothing, not making any exertion.
나도 리버 장대 전에 남고야 돼. 선내지 된대요. 여사래. 리버 장대. 리버 코랑 때문에 두야지. 리버 남도 전에 리버 장대 다니 냠니 자자 봐. 선내지 야래.
This usage of the basic mind as the path itself indeed has a distinctive feature. The taking of the basic mind itself alone as the path has a great distinctive feature.
마실람이 슝창매다 타르 공부해서 가서 계시오는 시리 드리간 또 돼야래.
As I said yesterday, all of the different systems of practice of highest yoga tantra have as their basic thought or their basic procedure the fundamental innate mind of clear light, as I was mentioning yesterday.
시 콘데게劝的他们叫老뉴멀 해지 집에 왜세게 장당래 왜세게다 가시고 그게 절바래 근데 이들단에 콘데게 집에劝的탐절로 그 싸게다 시르디 뉴멀 왜세디 잡래
The basic phenomena of the basis, the phenomena of cyclic existence and nirvana are the sport of this basic innate, fundamental innate mind of clear light. Thus, this mind of clear light is the basis of everything.
다 럼드지 내가래 다 리버티 땡기 리버서를 왜다 가다니 뉴멀 해지 집에 왜세게 땡기 왜세게 땡네 지금 마다가 착샤야 디디 다거를 쳐야 돼 뉴멀 해지 집에 왜세니
Now, for the purification of these impure appearances, the only means one has to purify these is this fundamental innate mind of clear light itself also. And then at the time of the fruit, at the time of the result in Buddhahood also, the state, or it is the state of the fundamental innate mind of clear lights being devoid of all defilements. So this is true of all of the presentations of highest yoga tantra.
야, 다지네. 아사디. 나 저배치. 저봐. 신도와. 저배치 나서면 네 탐절로. 아니, 누면 현지집에 외세계 인수 눈니. 나 외세계 인수도 누구시 보야.
Now, what's needed is for all of these phenomena of dualistic and conceptual elaborations to disappear or vanish into the great sphere of reality.
마신가란소 치워외 생건도 집에 걸리야. 그다음에 저배 나왔는데 탐절로. 너나배 나왔음도 잡아. 너나지 톱숨도 잡아. 뒤에 상월로. 아니 탐절던 거 외세계 인수 템두고요.
Now, indeed, when the fundamental innate mind of clear light is manifested, all of the coarser levels vanish into it or dissolve, cease, these being even the mind of radiant white appearance, the mind of orange or red increase, and the minds of black near attainment. All of these coarser levels dissolve.
이나야 말아도 가소래. 다 량왕기
However, when these naturally dissolve, for instance in death, we have no ability to remain in that fundamental innate mind of clear light. And due to this, after that period, the phenomena of dualistic and conceptual elaboration appear from it. In the root text of the Gurya Samaja Tantra, there is an explanation of a forward process of the dissolving of these four empties or four appearances, the minds of radiant white, red, and black appearances, into the all-empty mind of clear light, and an explanation of a backwards process of appearance from the mind of clear light of these coarser levels of consciousness and objects.
다도 Dzogchen 그도네 가슬라고 너시리 한다 완전 다단의 집을 남지 근데 지가 그래서나
So then, with respect to the great completeness, how is one going to use this basic mind as the path now?
달라야 나지 넘버 10 컨디션을 이나야 왜 세게 쳤대 이거죠.
Now it's said that no matter what the consciousness is, the clear light of the basic mind pervades it.
그다음에 탁으로 봐 탁으로 탁봐 아이스 치거든요. 탁봐 그게 솔리드 치는 타고 싶어져 가지고 취전실을 만들어 봐다.
For instance, ice, even though it's very solid, does not pass beyond the nature of water.
되는 신신에 배 남도 잡아 그저 제디에 코랑에 가서 그래. 다 코랑 샤사다. 다른 누서디 가다 리벨롱 텔레 만들었다. 리벨롱에 샤리용이요. 리벨롱 팀주요.
Same way, no matter how gross, coarse, or tough conceptions are, these conceptual consciousnesses appear from the sphere of the basic mind and dissolve into the sphere of the basic mind.
자, 근데 인도자네. 또 주신 게 됐습니다. 왜 세디 시바 탐자라리야. 띵줄라, 띠줄라. 눈이 과인이 겹게 그러봐. 띵줄 눈게 붙여도. 아니 시바 타다라 왜 세디 차이 겹여서.
Therefore, since this is the case, Dzogchen says that just as oil pervades the whole of a sesame seed, so the clear light pervades all of consciousness.
자, 근데 인도자네. 나란주지 초주기 시바. 시바를 잡아. 뭐도 주신데 그도네. 시바를 안 하기 때문에 왜 세계 차참무지 가서 이렇게 신럽다. 명하고 떡이 못 해야지 거야.
Therefore, even at a time of the manifestation of the coarser levels of the six consciousnesses, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mental consciousness, it is possible to identify through through the force of blessings and of quintessential instructions this clear light that pervades them, a subtle factor of clear light that pervades them.
아주 정신이 썩게 도움이 되지 않아요. 보조기 나 누군 해지 집에 왜세 가서 그게다 진짜 나 누군 해지 집에 왜세 남도 지야지 차라리 무슨 탐제 깐 탑까니 아니 디제를 아니 왜세 뭐도 전에 왜세 남도 지야지 알아 근데 지기다 뒤지 뒤부터 고물 그러지 다도 소주기 씨바 다시 가서 그래 뭔도 규신배 뒤네 탑계기 뒤 땡네 아니 가서 그게 왜세기 차 뭐송제 나 냠냠부터 하는 뭐송이 탈랑 못잖니 뒤가 이제 뜻이도다 왕제 미도고 짱네 용도 아니 뒤 짐시 이 왜세 치습 왜세 치습 신배 최기 아니 가서 그래 남도라고 뒤 치를 더 되는 디시야
It is in terms of this that a profound distinctive feature of the great completeness system comes. In other words, without having to wait until the time of ceasing all of the coarser levels of consciousness so that the subtle innate mind of clear light can appear or manifest. Rather than that, within the production of the coarse levels of consciousness, one identifies a subtle factor of clear light that pervades these, and through paying more and more attention to that factor, the collections of conceptuality diminish, finally leaving just the mind of clear light. The most difficult thing is to make the distinction between Sem and Rigpa, or mind and basic mind.
看来的这个写出来，但是不是对对出门用这些安喽，甚至对那个多块想法的生活这些，出到个来这个是写的说过这的，我到的遇到呢，我出来的好啥的，来老样。
To speak of it, to use the words to say that basic mind is something that from beginningless time is non-mistaken, whereas mind and that mind is something that is polluted with mistaken conceptuality. It's easy to say, but in terms of actual experience in your own continuum, it's another matter. Therefore, Dzogchen says, although one might fancy that one is meditating on the basic mind, one is actually, in fact, doing something that's no different from the non-Buddhist meditators who are merely concentrating on the clear and cognitive nature of the mind. He says there's a great danger in making this mistake. Thus, what one has to do is to bring out or to bring forth the practice of basic mind in its own naked state and meditate within that. When one gains this type of view, when one gains this type of practice, it's not necessary to search for meditation as something outside of it. It's not necessary to search for or to find some sort of behavior outside of this. Thus, one is able to, this is difficult to translate, one is able to place one is able to set the view like a mountain, one's view like a mountain, establish, found. And to set one's meditation is founded like an ocean, in that no matter how many waves there are in an ocean, the ocean itself just remains firm. When one is able actually to identify this basic knowledge, to get to that level, then just as light rays accompany light, so accompanying this basic knowledge or basic mind is a fundamental mindfulness. At this time, one doesn't need a mindfulness that arises from exertion, from activity.
tawa ribo ngotcheni degi nyamnyongji yebe gobla ding ngene asare namdo 가르샤나야 남도 가르샤나야 남도 jesu 장데 유난 jarwada 아다지 나와 샤유도 전에 나의 jesu입니다 아니 릭토리아 술 한이 대비주나 아니 저바 랑도기 가소리 저바 랑도 리지안에 샤 그때 이제 전에 저바 나와 적샤.
And then the third one is that one's behavior is founded in appearance. This is because when one has experience of the fundamental mind, then whatever objects appear, one isn't caught in those objects, but remains within the context of the basic mind. Thus, it isn't necessary to engage in the stoppage of such and such type of thought or the achievement of such and such type of thought. One doesn't have hopes and fears. Those are the distinctive features of this system.
sorry. 근데 닝네 숑리야. 이리지 야래. 링유 까마. 니주 들마. 사무탕나 숨쳐. 링유 까마. 이거 링유 줘 봐. 이거 이니지. 이니 이거 집에이나. 대자가는 주셔 줘 봐. 이니 뭐 까마스.
In the Nyingma text, the lineages are referred to in three ways. One is the distant lineage, which is the lineage from India. And the closer lineage is that of the revealed text.
민데 그도 투주 미니 로는 부식 투지다 다가는 신 관주 진주기 선남다 아니 때든人이 말람다 내가 말람 저와 투수 민데 그도라 아니 대시 투는 거 봐. 자 근데 이제는 투주기 산에지나 딱히 바슬라리아 믿어 못 사실 그래도 딱 간다로는 부식이 잘 지는 되게
These revealed texts or buried texts are ones that the great master Padmasambhava at his time in Tibet understood would be needed at future times by specific trainees later on in Tibet, and thus due to the and it is by the force of the karma of the person who reveals the text, takes it out of the ground, and by the force of blessings that these texts come to be revealed or taken out at the appropriate time. Now, because they are they were specifically aimed at specific persons at specific times by Padmasambhava, they contain a direct blessing from Padmasambhava. And the profound lineage is that which occurs in pure visionary experience. Within visionary experience, there are those that appear those that arise on a perhaps lower level of experience than the Yamasham, than those that appear to more exalted consciousness, and then those that actually appear to sense consciousnesses. Now, this that's being explained here is within the third category, those that come by way of pure visionary experience. And within the three levels of that, the pure visionary appearances that actually occur to sense consciousnesses. In terms of the substances used in the ceremony, there is the book of the blessing of release upon touch. If we had enough time, one would take out the book and read it. And then there's a rainbow crystal. In the practice of the Great Completeness system, a rainbow crystal is used as a symbol to cause understanding about the empty, basic mind. And there is a system of practice that puts above the rainbow crystal a peacock feather. In this way, the rainbow crystal mainly symbolizes the practice of breakthrough, and the peacock feather mainly symbolizes the practice of leap over. So I don't need to explain about the mudras. Then there's the bell and vajra.
There's no other, instrument except origin. That is a catch over it. Origin is top. She wouldn't share this.
So now the meaning of the vajra and the bell are very important. The vajra symbolizes method, and the bell symbolizes wisdom, and the two of them together symbolizes the ultimate mind of enlightenment, which is the undifferentiable bliss and emptiness. Now, there are many different levels in the method and wisdom. There's the method and wisdom of the sutra system. There's the method and wisdom at the level of the three lower tantras. There's the method and wisdom at the level of highest yoga tantra. Within that, first level, second level, third level, there's method and wisdom in terms of the class of appearances, method and wisdom in terms of the class of emptiness. Many different levels. And the instruments are used within being mindful of their meanings.
先知不知道的逆转是不是用多？
Otherwise, the ringing of bell would only be for waking up those who are sleeping, right?
哎呀的，这没逆转是正俺的逆转。
So I could then use the bell to wake you up and use the vajra to wake myself up.
哎呀的，当然我说的这。 imagination 그게 저거랬어.
So now if you ask, what is the sort of imagination that you have to do? What one is doing is generating or imagining oneself as a deity. And then in the Maha Yoga, Anu Yoga, and Ati Yoga systems, however, there are different ways of imagining oneself as a deity. And in this system of Ati Yoga, the great completeness, this is not a matter of gradually building up the imagination of the deity, such as by using a hand symbol or a syllable hand symbol and so forth, but of immediately appearing in the full form of the deity.
The details that follow of actual visualization and ritual of the Dzogchen blessing and empowerment will be omitted from the video program. This is due to the fact that these aspects are traditionally given only to those participating on the occasion itself. However, any further points that are of a general nature clarifying the Dzogchen teaching will be included.
Deeper range of movement, we can start to work through into some nice positions there to get more load through the body, chest.
Emma, all phenomena without exception are complete in the tantra or continuum of the self-arisen basic knowledge. Emma is a word of amazement. And as I was saying earlier, all of the phenomena of cyclic existence and nirvana are not things newly produced by causes and conditions, but are established within the scope, the sphere, the range of this self-arisen primordial basic mind. This Vajra mind is the basis of appearance of the phenomena of cyclic existence on the low end of the scale, and on the high end, it is the basis of appearance of all of the marvelous phenomena of nirvana. In both the old and new translation schools, the fundamental innate mind of clear light is called the Buddha nature, the essence of a Sugata, the essence of a one gone to bliss. In the text of the Great Completeness, and also in the text of Mahamudra, the Great Seal, this clear light is said to be a non-product, uncaused.
다 교인지 때는 좀 마셔봐도 상관없다. 용거래 따여 무도 싹도 쪄봐만 임마. 나 교인지 싹도 쪄봐만 임마. 얘 때문에 얘가 인도자네 교인지 딱 맞춰야 돼 가래. 배나 산지지 틀려야 산지 입에 가서 그래. 가서 주지. 되니 뭔가 연습주면 딱 맞시장 제베 인상. 되니 사람에서 딱 맞시장 제베 인생. 산지가 틀려야 다 교인지 딱 봐 인도자네. 근데 딱 틀려 가서 그래. 균샤매다. 근데 인도자네 내기 때문에 딱배 민다야 용도가. 어디는 신체니 왜서 얘 때문에 쪄봐 모인 거. 다다 통만해봐네. 아니 윤도 내댕 따도 내댕이 인도자네 대샤는 류만체가 고알레노지 여사래.
But in terms of how the term non-product or uncaused is understood, there are two ways of understanding it. One is that the phenomenon is permanent, that it is not newly produced, that it is not produced at all from causes and conditions. Another is that even though the phenomenon is produced from causes and conditions, it's not newly produced from causes and conditions, but is something that has primordially existed. In the case of the fundamental innate mind of clear light, it is something which, even though produced from causes and conditions, has existed primordially. For instance, its continuum, therefore, is said to be permanent. The meaning of permanent can be that the continuum of that phenomenon, or of whatever it is permanent. In this case, the continuum of the mind of clear light is primordial and has no end, and is therefore permanent. As it's said in Maitreya's Ornament for Clear Realization, because a Buddha's activity know no time of extinguishment, they are permanent.
자, 근데 인도자네 거라 고알랜서 커도 고알랜서 이거도 다양 캐바 커지기 시르는 늦어이 비켜선 거야. 아다 떡벤 누체디. 떡벤 누체니 샤바시다 인도자네. 이제 그냥 고알란데 늦어이 비켜선 거야.
Thus, these terms need to be understood in context. For instance, some scholars say that whatever exists is necessarily a caused phenomenon. It may look as if the scholar is excluding permanent phenomena, but the point is that all phenomena arise in dependence upon conceptuality. They depend upon conceptuality. And from this point of view, all phenomena are said to be produced.
근데 그 정중 리버티 원래 대바 제대로 근데 이랬잖아요. 말아서 지금 뒤제다 뒤마제다 지금 겨와다 가고 사야지디 가소래 semgi 그다음에 semgi 남도게 라베나를 얘기해 줘 봐. 아니 랑주리고 semle 대베 정신이 차는 인도잖아요. 근데디 아니 말아서 단 능줄래 제베 아니 탄핵 정점 대대 가소랬다. 대래 겨와랬어요. 근데 인도잖아요. 지금 삼발레 대바 제발레 대바인스 제대인스 근데 송내를 지금 비하래.
Then it's also said that since the self-arisen basic knowledge is beyond consciousness, it is beyond expression in the sense that the terminology of production, cessation, and so forth are all within the scope of conceptuality, whereas this is something that, since it's beyond the scope of conceptuality, cannot be described in any of these ways.
So that didi kada kasure. 장에 대한 시야고야디 나토나 지야다 시야고야디 간다지 아주 사기 거니 참을러기 터도 공부직을 법이 알았으니 개발 문구직 뒤순거야 아래. 다양 안아서 저바장에 용거야 아래. 그래서 인도산에 다 간다. 지 개발 문구직이 아니 가사 시면 터도 공부직을 법이 알았으니 소년데 벌써지 예니 아니 법이 알았으니 소인지를 마도 다 가서 다시다시 소원지 다시다시는 소원지 용신 말해. 근데 인도산에 딱 벌써지 예거가 인도산에 도스는 상단의 윤도 말이지 단한시는 윤도 와다 늦어져야지 가서 자오 벌써지인데 가서는 세계번은 시래 세계 주주 만다마다 여더들이 커도기 고알랜다 고알만다와지 고아지 투모모 입에 고아를 차례하게 된다래야 아니 좀 배주 만다마다 체 그 삼무동서를 여더버지 통연을 치게
What I'm seeking to explain and what I have great interest in understanding and explaining is the statement by many great scholars that all of the four orders of Tibetan Buddhism, Nyingma, Kagyu, Sakya, and Gelu, in the end are getting down to the same thought, that they come down to the same thing. Now when they say they come down to the same thing, there must be something that they're coming down to. And this is what I have great interest in pursuing and in looking into. Although some people may object to a presentation of such, it's important to look into this thing, which is that which they all come down to. Now, in the explanation of this, much different and vastly different terminology is, or what, vastly different terminology.
mental hausa de jig inde bi ende de sha kaza de ge na shi da zhen de lo ji da men de pe ju che bi de so su ke du gi tu mu yin be ho cha ya da kulu ji da ta tu ye be de ne ta la da di ta ne zhen men lo ji so su men da song ya ni di so su sam lo dong sa de ye de shi.
As I was explaining yesterday, each of these systems does indeed get down to the same thing, but each of them uses different terminology that has its own potency, has its own special potency in helping people to understand this. Thus, within the different terminology, we have to consider the context and special meaning and reference of that particular terminology within those systems.
他看来的这个人中日边也是的了，上这边搞呢呢，那呢，我们很积极的三个什么送给他的，三什么什么这个三也是三什么这个的。
This self-arisen basic wisdom is referred to in the Guhya Samaja system as as the fundamental innate mind of clear light.
他对于考虑中国搞呢，可就可以到之前送的。中国呢
And in the color chakra system, it is referred to as is referred to as a space vajra pervading space.
那还是接到的苦的，学句苦的，都是哪老里呀？人不去什么什么的，人家什么的选举的三件面是什么件面是，在这个上头。
In the Hevajra system and that of the explanatory tantra, the Vajra Panjara, it is referred to as the jewel mind.
加上个干啥？人心什么的相对具备三件样面，什么件样面？
It says, for instance, it is said that there is no Buddha, there is no sentient being other than or separate from the jewel mind.
那早晨可都是他们写吧送给他的。
And in the great completeness system, it is called the ordinary consciousness.
这个样日本送不到。
And sometimes the basic mind.
但这个团长嘛，写用是让之、节制、상태，那都是送给他的。
And to explain it, the terminology in the old translation school of Nyingma is used of self-release, of self-release, of naked release, and of unimpeded penetration.
呀，但这个让入日边的，站着，把那人家的，你想，看在他们这个吃西之上。
So the self-origin basic knowledge is the basis of appearance of all of cyclic existence and nirvana.
他真正的就是根据宁波那么讲的，真正的那个这个大概说的那个这个他说的냠용거团的，但냠용거团的线，냠의团的线不是中呢，那个蒙古籍怕的绝对不认识，但是下去我们了，但是人家就是根据给你宁波那么认识。
Next, it speaks of the essential path in which through knowing one, all are released. The meaning of this is that through one's own experience, coming to know this one self-arisen basic knowledge, all sorts of situations are released.
gyulung menga tel dustan jirang de gyulung de menga sadi khwa mena yungure de thanda mena yungure de anda de gyulung menga sadi ma anu ati sum chiri are.
And the next line is that in the meaning of it is that all the essential points of Mahayoga, Anu Yoga, and Ati Yoga are included there. The terms for the three Mahayoga, Anu Yoga, and Ati Yoga can be interpreted in other ways in other contexts, but this is what they mean here.
Shirab namsum tharbe chips.
The pure phenomena of the wisdom of the three types.
Shirab nambasum buddhi Dzogchen sha yin zane mo rang shi tuchi sum she li are. De yin zane mo ri be yi shi. Da da an ka de rang shi ri be yi shi de tuchi ri be yi shi chen yi shi sum she li. De yin zane.
Then the wisdom of the three types refers to the wisdom of the basic entity, the wisdom of the basic knowledge, the wisdom of the nature, and the wisdom of compassion. This sets forth the system of breakthrough, or sets forth breakthrough. And it says the four appearances are the supreme of paths. This refers to the practice of spontaneity. The practice of leapover. So for somebody who is specially qualified with merit and so forth, it is possible to have simultaneous realization and release. Thus the next line says, through simultaneous realization and release, one is fully purified in Buddhahood. For instance, at the time of initiation itself, there are cases of people who generate in their continuums the exalted wisdom. Since this is a path that can quickly bring about the full purification of Buddhahood, one should, without distraction, view the entity of the basic knowledge. And then after this, there are three ahs. The syllable ah is a negative sound in Sanskrit. There is for instance, the one syllable Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. As I recite this slowly, you should reflect on the meaning. First of all, straighten up your body. Keep your mind from being distracted to anything else. As one of the techniques in the Great Completeness is to aim your consciousness at your eyes and aim your eyes at space.
아주 미기 시바디 왕치고 싶시도 봐. 이 고백도 돌이야.
This indeed helps because even when you're meditating, or because our eye consciousness is so powerful, it can thereby bring some help even when you're meditating.
아니 내 커도 그 진로를 통대하지서 더 유아마다. 네가 저 파나 동발 때.
This is not a matter of looking out into the external world, but of one's looking into intermediate space.
가다디요. 나가 동바디기 치 나가 동바다 나가 동바니 부디기 다시 먹고 들야지 유산에 걸리시려.
Even in the new translation schools, there are similarities drawn between the internal empty space and the external empty space.
치시면자다 나그면자 시험에.
And the external enlightenment and the internal enlightenment.
나 치스베 사지물 이렇게 쓰고 말이다. 가다 디기 천토고요, 알아.
One is not saying that external space is something extremely fantastic. This is symbolizing internal space.
나야. 나 동수체니? 아니. 당연히 내 지심비 시험도 봐. 장주 다 도고디야도 가고 그래대. 봐. 이나야. 다 간다. 이거도리야. 지금 남도게. 그다음에 지 didn't dis야로 didn't do 사베데 내게 크도들 단 진심 말해봐. 나 진심 말해봐 지. 다 세점 직점게. 모른신 동바잉에 세점 직점게. 다 리버 코랑을 해내지. 어떻게 그래.
Though it might be difficult for you to gain this realization from my explanation, in this practice now, don't allow the factor of conceptual apprehension to pollute your mind at all, and vividly set it.
세점 직점다. 리버 코랑을 모른신 동바잉에게 모 동바잉에게 모 간에 다댕에게 다 리버
Set it in this entity of essential purity, of luminosity, basic knowledge.
안돼야 선보는 쇼 에마 천나 말려봐 랑종 리베 단저서 지시 군주 닝베는 유로면아 대론드 시로 남송 다베주 나와시고 남제주 도주 규직 창자외 마인 리베 모르데 아아아
So that's the end of the blessing. So now I'm going to show the form of touching your top of the head, throat, and heart with the book.
Jenny, Dikalia, any Kanzu Azure, Lama Rinzingi, any Chinlo Ralayama, Shuk, any Lama Rinzin, Ralama Tim, Chaswa, Lama Rinzindi, Ralama Timni, any Rangi Ludi, Jazunta Pata, Tansi Chin.
At this point, you should. At this point, you should think that that the book is touching these three of your places, and that through that the blessings of Lama Rinzin are entering you, and that then that Lama Rinzin himself enters you, and your body becomes diaphanous, rainbow-like, clear.
Lama Rinzin to the Rangisem, but the Yemid Pandini, any she will number of Totamjala, Pashini, Adaji, Ranjiba. Rangjungi ishi. That ding moya, because ding more travel chain, and ding on a penny, Gadagan, penny, dot Shajurisha.
and that your mind mixes entirely in union with the mind, in unit, what do you say, as a unit with the mind of Lama Rinzin, and that all of your levels of conceptuality cease, and that you vividly remain in a state of the basic self-arisen primordial knowledge. So as I touch the three areas, imagine this. And then as a conclusion, there's a recitation of a stanza. That finishes it. It's very easy to do, very facile.
And then five questions. Not all. Not much time now. Ja, questions 10 minutes. 끝났네요, 다.